Hey everyone. Today we are going to talk about determining theme and central idea and how to summarize a passage. So, determine a theme is a RL 6.2, determine a theme and central idea of a text and how it is conveyed through particular details. So, have you ever read a story and you learned some important lessons from the story's key events? Have you been able to learn from the situations certain characters face? Often, authors present a theme, which is a main message of the text. It's the lesson about life that the author wants you to think about. So, to identify a theme, first you have to determine the central idea, or what the story is mostly about. So, let's look at this picture below and let's think about its message. I used to be the worst player on the team, but I practice hard every day, rain or shine. All right, so if you look carefully at the caption and at the picture, you can see that it tells us about how someone becomes most improved player because he's holding a plaque that says most improved. So if we were to circle the details in words that help us figure out the lesson about life that this picture conveys, we would circle how he used to be the worst player, but he practiced hard, and he became the most improved player. So if we look at these important details that this little sentence tells us about the picture, then we could come up with a theme that even if you're the worst player on the soccer team but you practice hard, then you can become the most improved player. So hard work pays off. So determining a text theme is like putting together pieces of a puzzle. If you can carefully assemble the important details, then you can determine the central idea and understand the author's message. Let's see if we can do this with this passage called Tiana's Scar. When she was 5 years old, Tiana was bitten by Rex, her uncle's dog. The bite left a scar on Tiana's finger. Now, 11, Tiana still avoids dogs wherever she goes. Every morning, Tiana walks an extra block to school just to avoid walking by her neighbor's dog, Millie. Millie lies quietly behind a locked gate and doesn't bark much, but Tiana insists on avoiding the dog at all costs. When her best friend Kim laughed at Tiana's extra hike one morning, Tiana exclaimed, "I don't care what you think, passing a ferocious beast is not how I want to start my day." "Okay, calm down, Tiana," Kim responded as Tiana rushed away angrily. All right, so let's think on what's this part of the story about. The author doesn't always state the central idea of the story directly. So what we have to do is we have to identify key details about the main character and important events to figure out what this story is mostly about. So first of all, she was bitten by a dog at the age of 5. And at the age of 11, she's still terrified. She has a scar on her finger from the dog bite, and passing a ferocious dog is not how she wants to start her day. So, to me, knowing all these things, I would say that the central idea of this passage is that she has a huge fear of dogs. She doesn't want anything to do with them. She doesn't want to be anywhere near dogs based on these clues. Let's continue reading the rest of her story. And let's see if we can underline some important details, or I don't guess we're underlining right now, but let's point out some important details that would help us show that she's changing a little bit. So one day, Tiana's class took a field trip to an animal shelter. The tour guide explained different types of dogs and their behaviors. Tiana asked the guide many questions and described her fear of dogs. All right, I think that part is really important because she's asking questions about it as if she's trying to get some answers so she could find peace with it. You should never act scared of a dog, the guide explained. If you walk calmly and with confidence, dogs are less likely to bark at you. The guide demonstrated this for Tiana and her class. Walking home from school that day, Tiana decided to be brave and give it a try. And she walked confidently past Millie. All right, that's extremely important. That detail is extremely important because that shows she's completely changed from being petrified of dogs to, let me walk by this dog and see what happens if I'm confident and I don't act afraid. At first, the dog stood up and stared, but when it saw Tiana holding her head high, it just sat down quietly. Tiana felt proud and she wasn't scared at all. So, we're going to take a look at this question using question stems. This is what a question about central idea or theme might sound like on the Integrate test. What sentence below best expresses a theme of the story? All right, so which choice best sums up the main message of the story? A, knowledge can help a person overcome fears. B, friends stand by you even when times are tough. I don't remember it being anything about friends, really. C, other than at the beginning when the friend made her mad. C, dogs only bark at people who act scared. Right, now that was true. D, confidence does not help people solve problems. Okay, so as far as the overall central idea, our problem was that Tiana had a huge fear. She was scared to death of dogs, but she was able to overcome it once she understood what caused dogs to come at her. And that was part of that they could sense her fear. So the more knowledge that she gained about being confident, the more she was able to overcome her fears. So I'm going to go with A. Knowledge can help a person overcome their fears. All right, so today you are going to have a form that looks like this. And this first form, the first passage, is about Vivian's move. It's kind of lengthy because we're trying to get you used to reading passages similar to the ones that you're going to see on the Integrate test. As you read about Vivian's move, you're going to think on central idea. Think through what kind of person she is and what she's experiencing, and maybe how she changes throughout the story, and what kind of lesson that she learns, or what you can learn from her experience based on the things that take place in story. So that is going to be the first part of the form you're going to complete today, and you have 5 questions to answer about it. Now, the second part of this lesson is about summarizing. So let's take a look. Summarizing, this passage is also going to be fiction. And in order to provide a summary or a recount, a brief retelling of events, you want to include things like the main character, setting, the conflict, and just the important events. You want to make sure that when you write a summary, that it's free of your personal opinions or judgments, which is sometimes hard to do because as you read, you form opinions. And so if you're going to retell about an event or something that you read about, it's hard not to put those opinions in there. So take a look at this little picture. So what's happening here is this boy and girl, they walk into a room and they see that the ceiling is leaking and the floor is wet. So they run upstairs and they notice that this bathtub is on and it's overrunning water and it's coming through the ceiling. So if I was to write a summary, it might sound something like this. In an unrealistic story, a boy and girl enter a living room and see drips coming from the ceiling. Although confused at first, they at least have the sense to check the bathroom above the living room. There they discover the water is from an overflowing bathtub. All right, now, remember, a summary is supposed to be free from opinion or judgments. So if we look back at that, I'm seeing that the words in an unrealistic story, that's probably going to be judgmental, or that's going to be my opinion on the story. So I would cross that part out. And then when it says they at least have the sense to check the bathroom, That's very judgmental. So if I took that out, let's listen to what the story might sound like. A better summary would sound like this. A boy and girl enter a living room and see drips coming from the ceiling. Although confused at first, they check the bathroom above the living room. There they discover the water is from an overflowing bathtub. So that's a summary. It's free of judgment. It's free of opinions. It cuts straight to the facts. It talks about the characters. It talks about the setting. And it tells you exactly what's happening. That's what you want a summary to sound like. So when you're taking the integrate test, or you're doing this passage that you're about to do, and you're identifying what would be a good summary of the passage that you're reading, you want to pick the one that tells just the basic facts of what took place in the story, not minor details, but the overall story. And you want to make sure you're choosing the choice that has no opinions and no judgments. All right, so let's practice that. Where's Lady Fish Pants by Anita Benton? I want to see the lady with the fish pants, cried Ted. The day was scorching hot, and my 4-year-old brother was driving me crazy. We had seen every exhibit in Oceanside Aquarium. Each time, Ted would look around and then yell, Sam, where's the lady with the fish pants? I tried to convince him that there was no lady with fish pants there. But he just shook his head and said, she is too here. Let's go back and look at the jellyfish exhibit, I told him. Maybe she'll be there. All right, so what would be a good summary of this story? What would it include? What would it not include? Remember, a summary is a brief retelling. It does not include your opinion or judgments. So let's take a look at this draft and let's see what would need to be crossed out to make sure there's no opinion or judgment. In this well-written part of the story, Sam and his brother Ted visit Oceanside Aquarium. Ted says he wants to see the lady with the fish pants, and he acts like a spoiled brat. Sam says that there's no lady with fish pants, but Ted insists she's there. Ted should listen to his brother. All right, so if I go through this in this well-written part of the story, if I took that out, because that would be opinion, and if I took out his brother's acting like a spoiled brat, that's definitely being judgmental. And if I took out he should listen to his brother, those don't belong. So if I took those out, it would simply read, Sam and his brother Ted visit Oceanside Aquarium. Ted wants to see the lady with the fish pants. Sam says there is no lady with fish pants, but Ted insists that she's there. That's exactly what the summary would sound like. All right, let's read the rest of the story. Sometimes if you underline the names of the characters or any clues that help you understand the story's setting or events, it will help you choose the best summary. So let's take a look at that. At the jellyfish exhibit, Ted screamed. Okay, so there we have a name, Ted, and he screamed, Sam. So there's Sam. There's two names. There's no lady with fish pants here. Everybody looked at me, and I quickly rushed him out the door. Look, I told him, Mom's picking us up soon. Let's hang out in the gift shop until she gets here. All right, so now they're in the gift shop, so the setting's changed a bit. Will the lady with the fish pants be there? Sure, maybe, I said. So we walked in. I expected to hear Ted scream, but instead, he was smiling. He held up a stuffed mermaid for me to see. See? This is the lady with the fish pants. So, the lady with the fish pants was a mermaid in the gift shop. So there really was a lady with fish pants there. All right, so a good summary describes characters, setting, and important events. So which sentence best summarizes this part of the story? Sam should have realized that Ted was telling the truth about the lady with the fish pants. B, the mystery of the lady with the fish pants is solved when Sam and Ted visit the gift shop and Ted sees the stuffed mermaid. C, Sam and Ted's mother's supposed to pick them up soon. Or D, Sam got tired of listening to Ted whine, so he took him to the gift shop. All right, so some of those are true. However, if we want to look at the big picture, the whole story, where it includes Sam, it includes Ted, it includes the gift shop, the characters and the setting, and then it finally tells us that this lady with fish pants is a stuffed mermaid, then we would choose B. The mystery of the lady with the fish pants is solved when Sam and Ted visit the gift shop and Ted sees the stuffed mermaid. All right, so I hope that guides your thinking. Let me show you. After you read about Vivian's move and answer 5 questions, you're going to read from the Magician's Elephant. So this is a little excerpt from this story. Again, it's a little longer passage, and then you're going to summarize the story. Be sure that you focus on characters, setting, and the main event in the story to help you answer these 5 questions. So you have 10 questions in all, and your focus is on finding the central idea and summarizing. These are usually 2 of the most difficult type of questions to answer when you take a check-in or you take an Integrate test. So take your time, think about these things, use these strategies that I've covered in this video, and do your best.